COVID-19 has resulted in the closure of many different sectors such as live sport. And for MMA promotion Cage Warriors, this reality has been no different. I wanted to get a better understanding of how this pandemic has impacted those directly involved in active competition. So I sat down with professional athlete Steve Aimable to discuss what his life's been like since last March. You, I believe, fought on the very last card for Cage Warriors before we went into a lockdown.
Yeah, it was literally fought on the Saturday night. Lockdown was on the Monday. It was like leading up to it. Obviously, I don't think it had been confirmed that there was going to be a lockdown, so I was like, oh no, it's not going to happen, sort of thing. And then we got up into Manchester on the Wednesday, and it was like a ghost town. Just like crazy. Like we pulled up like 10 o'clock at night through centre of town. It's completely dead. It just you know, it was like something out of a movie sort of thing. It just didn't seem real. And then throughout the day, the town was dead. It was just full of all the crackheads, you know, just sitting on the benches in the middle of the town with the pigeons and stuff. It's just weird. But yeah. It was a weird time, but it was good to still be able to do what we love to do.
How did you sort of feel going into that fight? Obviously, with what was going on, did you feel that you were was there any worry, like with what was going on? Like, did you or your team around you say, should we be doing this, or should we just kind of, maybe cancel or whatever, or was it just like, let's do it?
I just wanted to get it done. Obviously, the venue got changed from the O2 up to Manchester, I think, in the final week. I was more worried about the fight getting cancelled than you sort of think anything else. But obviously, everything was leading up to that. Venues were getting shut, other sports were getting, finished and everything. And ours was sort of like coming towards in the final week. And I was just like, I was water loading, getting ready to cut. And I was just thinking, I hope it doesn't come to like day before weigh-ins or something. And then they say, no, the event's cancelled. Do you know what I mean? Done all this hard work, all this water loading, all the cutting just for it to be cancelled. So I was just relieved that we actually, got to fight. That I wasn't really fussed or didn't really pay much attention to the whole sort of COVID stuff or think much of it. I just wanted to fight. That was it.
Obviously, then after the fight, we said on Monday that we went into a lockdown. But what was it like when that news kind of hit, just fresh off a fight? All the emotions that comes out of, obviously, after that, and then you're sort of told on TV that you can't do anything. What was that like? Those few months sort of leading up from that, going forward?
Pretty nice to be fair. Leading up to fight, everyone's out training, busy sort of thing. Don't really get time to spend much time with your family. So even without lockdown, after each fight, I sort of calm down a bit. Still train. I normally sort of have 2 weeks to a month off, depending on injury sort of thing, and then sort of ease off a bit, and then I'm pretty relaxed straight after a fight. I only sort of really start getting back into the swing of it when I know there's a fight card coming up that I want to fight on. But sort of until a fight is announced for me, sort of say 6 to 8 weeks out, I don't really get like fully dedicated to it or 100%. I'm still sort of pretty laid back, still pretty chilled. So after the fight, not having to do that and knowing that I'm not going to be doing that, it was nice. So it was like March time. My little one she turned 1 in the June after that, so it was nice. I got time to see all the bits that I wouldn't have seen if I was training as well as working, walking, all of this lot, first birthday, everything like that. It was just nice to be home and not, stressing about anything, and just actually get time to spend time with my family and my wife and everything.
Obviously, with losing the last fight, then what you're saying about obviously then going for a break, and depending on injuries and whatever, that you might have some time off, some more time with your family.
Yeah.
But obviously, because of what was going on, and it was really uncertain as to okay, we're in a lockdown now, but how long might this last and things. Did you feel any different that you've had a fight and you might be off for maybe 3-4 months before you're back into another training camp and going for another fight? Maybe say it was March and this was May, or did it feel exactly the same?
I'm not really one to get overthinking stuff and stressing about stuff. Obviously, you see all these people that like really getting down, really getting stressed about COVID, not being able to go out and sort of stuff like that. But I'm sort of one, if it stressing about it and getting upset about it, it's not going to change it. It's not going to having a stress about it isn't going to mean you can go out. So I'm sort of pretty easy going, just tend to go with the flow. Didn't really think much of it, and to be fair, I've been working all the way through it, so it hasn't really affected me, as in the fact I'm stuck at home in lockdown. I'm still going out, still getting to train when I was, sort of thing, at the time. But yeah, nothing really bothers me, to be honest. So it's a good thing. I'm pretty laid back, but take life as it comes. No point stressing about it. What will be, will be. You just got to get on with it, innit?
There was a period, and still is now, where for someone like an athlete like yourself, where you can only take so much time off, really.
Couldn't call me an athlete at a minute, I'll tell you that. Definitely not.
We'll just go by the Instagram photos. It's okay. You'll always be an
athlete. Yeah. Look back at the old ones. That's fine.
No, but it's got to be kind of difficult where you've got to use the gym, the training facilities at some point, and for them all to be closed and not having events on and things like that. How was it sort of being able to train at all?
Yeah, so after the March fight against Perry Goodwin, because we're professional athletes, we're technically still allowed to train, because it could be classed as our job, really. So we were still training. We were managing to get training in the mornings, some sparring. Obviously not as much as we normally. Well, to be fair, it's probably the same amount as what I normally do. I'm not one that dedicates my full life to it and sort of trains every day. I wish I could, but it's just not physically possible for me. So I was still technically training the same amount as what I am. Maybe not in a sense of, going to the gym and my own training sessions, personal training sessions, but I was still able to get, like my sparring sessions in, my technical sessions and that sort of stuff. So it didn't really affect me again in that sense, because I was still able to get as much in as I needed for the fights.
In the time in between fights and sort of easing of things, obviously for the September resumption of Cage Warriors, getting back, but from March till then it was the sort of the peak of what was going on, and then it was getting easier, and then the events started to come back. But because you didn't know when you were going to come back and things like that, did you learn anything about yourself, maybe, like what, because you're coming off losses as well, like, which, if you were winning these fights, these last two, and then you've got a gap between you, maybe like it's your mind might be in a better place, I don't know, but losing and then sort of not knowing when you maybe could get back in there. Did you learn anything about like how to deal with that better, or?
No, I've always dealt with my losses throughout my career. It's never affected me in that. I just want to get back and do it. Like apart from this event, obviously, because I can't because of my arm, I was offered to fight on this card in March, but obviously I had to turn it down. So then that would have been it. All 4 lockdown shows that I've been on, and that's because I want to do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I just love the sport. I love competing. I mean, I'm 34 this year. I ain't no spring chicken, so time is running out for me. So I just want to get in as much as I can while I'm still doing it, whether it's, you know, fighting for the belt or whatever. I've always said that I'll give it up when I'm not competing at a good level. Like, I'm not going to do it just for the love of the sport. I'm not going to go out there just to get beaten up. But when I'm not able to compete with, you know, all the young athletes that are coming up now, then that's when I'll, you know, hang it up. But do you know what I mean? When I am coming up to fight, I'm training, say, 2-3 times a week, and I'm still competing with people that are training full time. Still living at home with their parents potentially, you know, got nothing else to do apart from go and train, you know, 3-4 hours a
It's
day.
their life, you know
That's
what I mean?
their life, you know what I mean? Who knows what, you know, where I could have been if I was able to dedicate that much time to it. But you can't think like that in life. Otherwise, you know, you're just going to beat yourself up. You just got to go with what you got and make the most of it.
You fought, as you said, on the lockdown sort of events, and obviously coming back in September, and then another one in December when obviously we were in lockdown again, November. What was it like where, you know, because most fighters they tend to obviously take, because you can't do it every week, can you? Because need, your mind needs to reset, obviously the injuries and all these things, so you need time off. It's like it's just a given. But did it feel a little bit different where it's kind of stop start, like you're coming maybe to the peak of your career where you're like, you know, in your athletic, you know, your mind's at probably the most mature it's ever been and things like that. So are you sort of thinking, sort of maybe not running out of time, but you know, things need to start happening, and you know, there's kind of a stop start, like we're having events and then everything's getting closed. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, like obviously the Mads fight, leading up to the Mads fight, I was, you know, I feel like I was the best shape I've ever been in, you know, best place I've been in my career, sort of thing, mindset, everything. And then obviously that fight didn't really give me a massive setback. I learnt more from that fight than, you know, probably what if I'd won. But you know, everyone always says that. So it's one of the things. So that fight didn't, you know, set me back in my career or make me think, oh, I'm running out. But then obviously, like you said, then the lockdown happened, and then you were like, oh no, not knowing where we're going to be, sort of thing, how long it's going to last. But luckily for me, obviously, you know, everyone knows. Well, no one knows that. I didn't think it was going to be on for this long. I thought it'd be done with, you know, quick few months, and then it would be gone. So, and then obviously when it got a little bit longer, I said it's only going another couple of months. And I thought it's always been like that for me. It's not going to last much longer. It's not going to last much longer. So it hasn't really held me back because I normally only fight sort of 3 to 5 times a year. I like to get in, and I've had 3 last year as it was. So it's not that I missed out. So I still done as much as I could. So I probably wouldn't have got in any more even if it wasn't on lockdown. Maybe one more depending, but that hasn't really set me back. But obviously I feel the injuries set me back a little bit more now. Then obviously all this lockdown.
And then it's kind of, it's hard to confuse it quite negatively, like, you know, the topics of COVID and, you know, how that's kind of impacted everyone. But there is some positives, obviously, like with realizing what's kind of important as well, where, you know, you've had maybe a little bit more time off, maybe not much more than you're used to. But did you feel like when, like, I think for me, like if I speak for myself, you know, when you're kind of forced to adapt to what you do, it kind of makes you appreciate things. And I think that's kind of a cliche, but it kind of is true, where, you know, you respect what your family brings you, what you give to them, and things like that. Did you feel like that was sort of emphasized in that time, like where this like my family's like everything to me, and you know my kids, my wife. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because got to spent more time with my wife than what I've done in the last bloody, I don't know, 11 years since I've been doing this. 11, 12 years since I've been doing MMA. You know, every night, every morning, almost even. So we've spent a lot more time than what we usually would together, which is good and bad. Do you know what I mean? We didn't realise how much we annoy each other. Obviously, before you don't really notice because obviously I'm out and then she's out, sort of thing. We're both able to do our own things that we enjoy doing. So then when you can't do them, you start getting aggravated just for yourself because you're bored, and then obviously that affects your mood, and that mood, you know, rubs onto your partner, and then you end up bloody bickering, and then it's just, you know, it's just stupid little bickering that you would never normally do, but also in a sense, you know, get to spend more time together, speak more, you know, do more family stuff, like got to, you know, spend a lot more time with my little one, sort of thing. So it does make you appreciate everything, like you said. And yeah, although MMA has been my life for, you know, 12 years, and it still will be for another few years, you know, family without, after fighting, if you ain't got a family, sort of thing, and you've been doing it this long, what you got? Do you know what I mean? You fully step away from it, you got nothing to show for it, sort of thing. You realise you've dedicated your life to a sport that, you know, may potentially hasn't gone where you've wanted it to go, or as far as you've wanted it to go, and you don't know what else to do with yourself. And then, do you know what I mean? And it's almost like you're starting over. So, you know, thankfully I've been able to do what I love. You know, I've got my wife, I've got my little girl, sort of thing. I've got a life outside of fighting, which, you know, some athletes don't have, and you know, some do. So it's nice. It has been nice.
I mean, in terms of fighting without a crowd at all, was you going in there anyway? Then
I like it.
you know, you like it, yeah?
I like it. I prefer it. For me, even when I'm in there, like the only time I sort of pay attention is maybe if I'm walking out, and I'll always look around to see, you know, see where my wife is, see where certain, you know, friends and stuff are. And yes, it is nice to, you know, for them to be there watching you and, you know, showing the support. But when you get put in a bad position and you start thinking to yourself, right, this is bad, and then you're thinking, oh, what if I lose? Now they're all watching, sort of thing. You don't want to let them down, although you're not letting them down, because, do you know what I mean? Any good, you know, friend and family and fan shouldn't really care if you win or lose. They're there to support you. So although there is that sense, but personally, you don't want, you know, no one wants to see you. You don't want to lose for anyone. So when they're not there, although they can still watch on TV, it's completely different. There's no pressure on that stage. It's sort of like just you've got a job to do, get in there, get it done, get home. When I get in there as well, I can focus in on my cornermen. I don't really hear much else other than, you know, muffled sounds. So when there's no crowd at all, it like intensifies it, and, you know, it's just like they're on a bloody controller, just telling you what to do. You know, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And it's nice. You're like their little puppet, and I prefer it. And like you said, quite a few other people prefer it. So as much as I want the crowds to come back, I'll just put some earphones in.
That's brilliant. Last question. If we could sort of summarize for you, like what it's been like this last year, so from March till this March now, how would you sort of summarize how your life has been, and what sort of different things have you sort of maybe learned about yourself, or what you've done differently in terms of how you've adapted to things. Is there anything that you think that has really affected you or anything like that? Obviously from COVID since to now.
Easiest way, no, nothing. It hasn't really affected me in my personal life. If anything, I'm busier at work. Just everyone's at home, using their boilers more and they're breaking more, so I need to go out and fix them. So that helps me a lot, keep it going. So the COVID hasn't really affected me in the last year. I've still been able to, do what I've wanted to do. Still managed to get 3 fights in. I've got more time to spend with my family and my wife. Just for me, nothing has really changed. Apart from maybe, getting to train fully with the team, that's one thing I have missed throughout the COVID is like the family that you've got around you when you're all on the match. You've just busted your asses for 2 hours and you're all just sitting there at the end, all good friends that you've trained with for years. And, there's nothing better than punching and kicking each other in the face and then sitting there at the end of it going, oh yeah, good shot sort of thing. I've missed that. I've missed seeing all the boys all the time, so it will be nice to get back to that. Yeah, that's all I've missed pretty much in the last year is just, punching my friends in the face as much as I want.
I think that's, honestly, it's like actually really nice to hear, like, where so many people would say that I've been affected for worse in the last year, whereas I think you'd want to hear more people like you who talk like quite positively, like have taken a lot of things since what's happened, come out of it.
If I really sort of sit down and maybe write everything down, or what I did before lockdown and what I've done during lockdown, I'm sure I will be able to find, things that have affected me. But because I don't really dwell on it and think about it too much, and I sort of just get on with it, nothing really just sort of sits in there and winds me up. So I don't really think about it. I just get on with what's in front of me.
I think that's sort of a perfect way to end it, because it leaves it on a positive. Definitely look forward to your next fight, so I'll stay tuned for that. Hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later, but we'll see.
Yeah, soon enough. June, July, expect me back. Yeah.
Well, Steve, thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Reflecting on my conversation with Steve, it was so refreshing to hear someone share their perspective of life in a pandemic and how positive it's been for them. Steve perhaps represents, especially in MMA and sport in general, a unique outlook on the impact of COVID. I found Steve's story of his last 12 months very interesting, but his mindset even more so. Perhaps others could learn or take something away from what was discussed here and realise that not everything can be yours to control, and sometimes you just have to roll with the punches.